Well, the Anacostia is like a lot of urban rivers. You know, we used to call them trashed rivers.
Tragically, the nation's capital allowed one of its rivers to become arguably the dirtiest urban river in America. Unconscionable, unacceptable.
If you live in Virginia, Maryland, or the District of Columbia, the Anacostia River touches you, touches the people you represent.
The Anacostia River flows through the heart of the nation's capital. From the time our country was founded, the Anacostia was destined to become America's river. Lafont's original plan for Washington envisioned the Anacostia's banks as the ceremonial and economic centerpiece of the city. Today, however, the trash-filled Anacostia is far from what the early planners of Washington had envisioned. Instead, the nation's river stands as a symbol of neglect and wasted potential.
It was, in fact, I think, a resource, an extraordinary resource, that was largely forgotten by the Washington metropolitan area and by the nation.
A lot of people come here and judge us by what the nation's capital looks like. Very few world-class capitals I can think of in the developed world allow their waterways to be soiled.
I was surprised as far as the extent of the pollution. I mean, I figured there would be some concerns just because it's such an urban area and an urban watershed, but I don't think I realized to what extent. So fishing especially has been a big eye-opening experience for myself and I think the students, just because you can see firsthand what's happening to the fish that live in these waters.
So you gotta see it to really understand it and believe it.
You don't really think that it's really that dirty, but when you come out on the boat and you really see it, it really affects you, how dirty it is and what you need to do to stop it from being that dirty.
There are multiple sources of pollution to the Anacostia River. The biggest one is the district's combined sewer system. It is a sewer system that takes both the water from your houses and the water off the streets, puts them together in the same pipe. And that system is no longer big enough to accommodate the city of Washington. And so when we get a stiff rain, we've got more water than the system can handle. And a mixture of water from your toilets and water from the streets overflows, goes directly into the river. That water holds bacteria, it holds oil and gas, it holds heavy metals, and that water becomes a pollutant, and it has to be controlled a different way.
That would be a huge step towards just dealing, especially on a rainy day like today, dealing with all the extra water and things that are coming to wastewater treatment plants so they're not so overloaded and having to dump raw sewage back into the river.
Well, because our politicians reside less than a half a mile away from this location that we're filming right here on the river, I think it's important for them to understand that the Anacostia River is a reflection of how our elected officials place the importance of water. If the Anacostia River is an indication of what we think freedom is, then freedom must be freedom to pollute. And I don't believe that's the American dream, and I don't believe that's what our elected officials believe.
We all are awed by being in the Anacostia at certain places where you look around and if you didn't know where you were, there's no way you would think you were in the middle of a city. There's no way you wouldn't think you're not in a wild and scenic river. And the only possible indication to you would be to see the refuse that humanity has put into the river, whether it's a tire, a refrigerator, a piece of paper.
As the capital of the free world here in Washington, D.C., I think we have an obligation to put our best foot forward here, to have the best example of everything. That includes urban environment.
Quite honestly, like every region, we're in competition for development, for investment, and having a waterfront that's a great place to go to, that's clean, usable is a huge amenity for us.
I think that it would just be a renewed sort of energy in our community when our children are really able to appreciate a clean river.
It's a huge asset that is going to waste.
The Anacostia is polluted, but it's beautiful, and it is salvageable.
Despite years of neglect, the public has long understood the importance of a clean Anacostia to the National Capital Region.
The Anacostia River and the southeast-southwest waterfronts are critical to the future economic development of the district.
A lot of urban centers have literally turned their cities around, you know. The rivers used to be their backyard where they dumped everything, and now other places around the country have invested in improving their waterfronts, revitalizing their economies, and really growing communities.
The time for the Anacostia has come, and that's why we're here tonight, because we believe
the district currently has a very strong initiative where they're looking at 2,800 acres that are on either side of the Anacostia, stretching all the way from Haynes Point up to the district line, and targeting those areas for economic development, specific economic development. Critical to those plans is the cleaning up of the river.
160 years ago, our sewer system was probably state-of-the-art with the Corps of Engineers putting this brand new sewer system here, and they did it for a reason. They did it almost entirely because the federal sector, the great monuments, the Congress, the White House, the Supreme Court were located here.
Unfortunately, this same sewer system, along with the separate stormwater systems of Maryland and DC, are now the major sources of pollution on the Anacostia.
The combined sewer system that we have in this city that was put here a long time ago by the feds is simply not a modern standard, and it does cause a problem when it rains.
While the public has been doing its part, it cannot solve major infrastructure problems. Here, Congress has the opportunity to lead and to ensure federal agencies and local jurisdictions take necessary action to provide required funding.
The federal government owns 70% of the shorelines of the Potomac and Anacostia, which tells you right away that they have some obligation.
But all over the United States, Congress significantly contributes to reconstruction of sewer systems. We're saying start at home.
I'd say that the Congress has an opportunity here. The opportunity is to illustrate how in their backyard they can help turn a trashed river around.
Clean up the neglected river, the Anacostia River, the way you cleaned up the Potomac.
Because we're blessed with resources, if we have the will, we can do this.
This is an investment in the future of the river, an investment in the future of the communities along the river, and really an investment in the nation's capital. And hopefully the nation's capital will again serve as an example of what we should stand for.
The Anacostia River matters.
Save the river. Take this opportunity to restore something that has been destroyed. Let this be the example of what we can do as a nation together.